Hello, everybody. Welcome to Townsend 505, or welcome back for your lovely viewer. Today, I'm going to be doing interesting video. Today, I'm going to be doing a 50 artist tier list. Basically, it's going to be basically 50 artists I'm very familiar with, uh, 50 artists I like to know, and this could be very fun because well, if you look at the title, it's gonna say there's gonna be lots of hot takes, and I'm gonna stand by that statement because there is gonna be lots of hot takes, hot takes galore. So hope you're excited to see this video because I've been wanting to make this video for a very long time. Just basically being like, this is my favorite artist. This is all these artists I'd say will be great. So honestly, I might as well just remove this F tier because for mine because there is no F tier in this because I'm not tackling every artist I know. I just picked 50, so just to make it easy. So like a D tier for me would be like not one of my favorites. Like it wouldn't be. I'm not saying they're bad, but like just compared to the 50 of them, I'd say it would be like D tier. S tier is like my all-time favorites. So this is gonna be very fun. Starting off with the animals. This is no particular order. It's not alphabetical. I'm just gonna go by wherever it's ordered here. So the animals, I'm gonna give them a C tier. So I like the animals. I think they're pretty good. I think their music's really good. I just not one of my all-time favorites. Probably one of my least favorites from the British Invasion. They're pretty good, but they made some pretty good albums, but nothing really that like noteworthy from them. Boston, I'm gonna give them to the A tier because that album here. By the way, these aren't albums that I'm rating. This is like bands I'm rating. So like I'm going by the whole discography. So like if I'm going by just debut album, it would be S tier. But if you ask me, by after the first album, they weren't as good. Their second album's pretty good, and I think the third album's pretty underrated. But I think their first album's what really was notable. If anything, I put them at B tier just for that alone. Just for their other albums not being as strong as their debut. Buffalo Springfield, I'm gonna give them an S tier. Uh, I like all their albums. I think they're a very talented band. Uh, I can't think of anything really that wrong with them. I mean, all three of their albums are my top 100 albums. So I think they're really good. Um, Debut is amazing. Has For What It's Worth on it. Some really good deep cuts on it. Really like Burned. I really like Out of My Mind. Flying on the Ground Too Wrong. Great stuff by Neil Young on this debut, and their second album, Buffalo Springfield again, really good album. I love Mr. Soul. That's probably the best song that they ever did. Mr. Soul. I love Mr. Soul. It's a great song. Uh, Very underrated. Next up, we're gonna go with the Birds. So might be surprised with this. So I'm gonna give them a B tier. So you're probably thinking, well, you did a whole series on them, so you probably would think it would be at least on A tier. But yeah, I'm gonna keep them at B tier because after their Sweetheart of the Rodeo album, their albums weren't quite as good. They made some pretty good albums after that, like Bout of Easy Rider. That's a really good album, but their reunion album's pretty good, but they made some pretty lousy albums too, if you ask me. There's the Bird Maniacs album, and there's Further Along. Those two albums aren't really the best, but despite that, they're a really good band though. I really like them. Younger Than Yesterday, great album. Mr. Tambourine Man, Turn Turn Turn, Five Dimension. Really good albums. Like their first six albums are really good. It's just their last six albums are very hit or miss. Cream, I'm gonna give them at A tier. So half their albums are in my top 100 albums. Half of them aren't. Uh, yep. Briar commented, "Birds at B tier is a fair placement." Yes, it's a. I find that to be a fair placement too, because they make some of the best music, but then it's at the same time like some of their music is just okay. Like it's not bad, but like not like despicably bad, but like they could do better. They could have done a lot better. Uh, a lot of missed opportunities, if you ask me. So thank you for watching, by the way, Briar. Appreciate it. Um, Cream, I'd say half their albums are really good, but then half the albums are just decent. Like I like Disraeli Gears, but not one of my all-time favorites. I love Wheels of Fire. That's why I chose this as their thing. I find Cream to be a really good band. It's just I don't know. It's just so like a couple of like two of their four albums don't really hit me as much as their other two. CCR, I'm gonna have to give them at S tier. They're an awesome band. Uh, I love Creedence Clearwater Revival. Probably I'm gonna rate them. I'm probably gonna rank them over Buffalo Springfield. Um, their debut album is awesome. I think their debut album's really underrated. Um, I love Bayou Country. That's a great album. Really enjoyed Bayou Country. Uh, Green River's pretty good album. Uh, and of course, Will and the Poor Boys is fantastic record. I'd say really enjoy Cosmos Factory. Those albums are really good. I like Pendulum, probably their weakest of the first six. Mardi Gras is a pretty bad album, but I feel like Mardi Gras isn't bad enough to rank them any lower. It isn't bad enough to rank them lower. I think their other six albums more than make up for it. Uh, CSNY or just CSN, Crosby, Stills and Nash. I'm gonna combine it into two artists. So like Crosby, Stills and Nash, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. It's two artists basically. It's the same artist basically. It's just Neil Young occasionally comes with them. Um, don't hate me for saying this. Don't hate me for saying this, um, Jason. But they're a B tier band for me. I really love CCR. I was say CCR. I really like CSNY, but like I said with the Birds, they made some of the best music, but then some of the worst music. Their first four albums are really good. I really like the Crosby, Stills and Nash album from 1969. I love Deja Vu to Death. It's an awesome album. That's like one of my all-time favorites. CSN album from 1977 is pretty good. Daylight Again is awesome. So their first four albums are really good, but then when they got to American Dream from in the late 80s, that's when everything sort of went downhill and nothing it went back. It didn't get any worse than American Dream, but I don't think it really went up after that. So I feel like B tier is fair for them. Layla, Derek and the Dominoes. I'm gonna give him an S tier, probably a low S tier though, probably because they only made one album. But I feel like their impact in music is just nothing short but amazing. Of course, the great Eric Clapton was in Cream before this, and then he went to Derek and the Dominoes. Uh, my biggest gripe with Layla is that it's their only album with the Derek and the Dominoes. Is that they only had one album. Would have been nice to have more. So that's like a big reason why they're low S tier, not like high S tier. But it's one of my favorite albums of all time. The Doors. You guys are gonna be surprised. I'm actually gonna put them on A tier, lower than Cream. Yeah, I like the Doors a lot. It's just some of their albums aren't. I don't like as much. Like I really enjoy Soft Parade, and I really enjoy Waiting for the Sun. Uh, the first album's good. I like their debut, but it's not one of my favorites. I like Strange Days. That's another good one, but not one of my favorites. Morrison Motel is Morrison Hotel's good, but it's not best. LA Woman is a great album though. Like 3 out of the 6 albums are great. It's just not some of my favorites, if you ask me. Hate to say that because I know someone who really loves the Doors. It's just they're not a band that I'm not as strong into, but I love the Doors a lot. So don't ever take that away from me. But yeah, I really really enjoy that. I'm gonna go out of order a little bit. Uh, so I'm gonna go with Rush now. Rush, I'm gonna give him an S tier, strong S tier. Because well, I'm gonna make another row, make it easier for me. Make it SS tier because some of this is like my top favorites. Uh, so like Rush would definitely be in there. Signals, Permanent Waves, Moving Pictures, 2112, Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres. Some of the best music you'll ever hear from a rock band in general. It's just awesome music. I can name a bunch of songs right now, but it'll just it's basically just me being like gushing over Rush. Uh, they're probably gonna be the lowest of the SS tier because after Hold Your Fire, they sort of go into like this like sort of like repetitive nature to their music where it's just good, but it's not like essential music. That's a good way of putting it. It's good, but it's not like essential. So I'm just gonna leave it at SS here for that in that case. I'm gonna leave it in SS here because of the best music they made, but some of their mediocre music, like it's borderline S tier, but not like bad. I guess I'll talk about the ones that we're covering now on my channel. So Black Sabbath, I'm gonna give them a strong A tier, a really really strong A tier. So I really like Black Sabbath. Me and Briar, we're doing a series right now talking about the Black Sabbath albums. They're not quite S tier because there's like a couple of their albums I'm not as big into. Um, especially Paranoid. I'm not the biggest fan of that album, and Sabotage I'm not as into. I'm gonna go more into the albums I'm not as into when we cover those albums. But as of now, we're talking about a lot of great albums. Speaking of which, sometime tomorrow, me and Briar we're gonna be covering their last Ozzy Osbourne album, Never Say Die. So excited to talk about that album. But as of now, they're a strong A tier. I'm gonna keep it at that for now. Next artist we're covering on my channel right now. I'm gonna do the one that I covered on my channel. The first series that I fully finished was the Birds. Well, I did the Bird series, but the first one I finished with Jason would be Simon and Garfunkel. I'm gonna give him an S tier. I'm gonna give him an S tier because probably gonna rank him over Buffalo Springfield. But probably not better than CCR. Simon and Garfunkel's great. Love their debut album. Very underrated. Great stuff. I really like the debut, and I love Sounds of Silence. That's a great album. Probably their darkest album, if you ask me. Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme, really underrated album in today's standards. Really love Bookends. I love Bridge Over Troubled Water. Just great music. They don't have any bad albums. Let's just say that. The only reason why they're not S tiers because I don't think their albums are as good enough to be in the SS tier. Like besides Bridge Over Troubled Water. So that's just my opinion on that, though. I guess we'll go with the Kinks next. I'm gonna put them at SS tier. Another SS tier. Some of my favorite music. Village Green Preservation Society, Arthur, Lola versus Power Man, Something Else by the Kinks, Face to Face, Muswell Hillbillies. Just some of the best music you'll ever hear from a rock band. Really good, or a pop band if you really want to be technical. Uh, really like them. They're such a good band. Well, here's where the hot takes come in. So I'll sneak them in here then. Next band I'm gonna do is the Beatles. I'm gonna put them at C tier. Um, yeah, this is gonna be the biggest hot take. None of their albums are in my top 100. Uh, they don't have a 10 out of 10 album. So give them a C tier. I know I'm gonna get a lot of Beatle fan hate from there. Uh, yeah. Okay, I got the audio fixed. Um, so I'm just gonna go through my tiers from worst to best and tell you guys why they're at each. So D tier, the animals. Like I said, they don't really have really much albums really to go by. They have some really good songs and a couple really good albums, but that's about it. B-52s, they're a good band. Besides this album cover, the B-52s, the Yellow album, nothing really that notable after that. Or really, yeah. Badfinger, just slightly like them better because they have some pretty good albums. Um, Supertramp, uh, I want them to be in C tier because of Breakfast in America and even in the quietest moments, but their first two albums are pretty bad. Uh, Beatles, no 10 out of 10s, and none of their albums are in my top 100. Zombies, besides Odyssey and Oracle, I'd say nothing really that notable before or after it, besides Tell Her No when she's not there. Steppenwolf, they're a good band. I mean, they used to be my favorite Canadian band until I found Rush. Pink Floyd, I like Pink Floyd, but not one of my favorites. Jefferson Airplane, kind of the same thing with Pink Floyd. Alan Parsons Project, that's some really good albums, but nothing like none of them are my top 100. Hermits, a lot of great fun British invasion songs. Uh, I like the Hermits. I like them. Boston, I already told you guys why. Turtles, got like two really good albums. That's about it. Deja Vu, I already told you guys about that. About CSNY. Jimi Hendrix, I like Jimi Hendrix, but besides Electric Ladyland, uh, I like his albums a lot. I do, but he's not one of my favorite artists, to be honest. I already tell you guys about the Birds. Ringo, the strong beats here. I like Ringo. Uh, his best album though to me is the country album, but that's my opinion. Michael Jackson, not the lowest of 8 years. Those first four Michael Jackson albums were rough. The the Motown albums, they're rough to go through. Besides that, Thriller, Bad, Off the Wall, great albums. Um, Soft Doors, I told you guys, Cream, yeah, yes, I think they're really good. Not one of my all time favorites, but some of their albums are really awesome. Black Sabbath, I said. Yardbirds are really great Britishy blues band. They do the blues a lot better than Fleetwood Mac does, and they came way before Fleetwood Mac did. So that's like another like reason why I don't like Fleetwood Mac in the early days. That is Billy Joel. Some really great albums. Really good at really like Turnstiles, Strangers, 52nd Street, Glass Houses. Great albums. John Lennon. I put him towards the topper of A tier because of his big hits. I wouldn't say his albums were as cohesive or as strong as the other like higher Beatles that are on the list, but pretty. I like John Lennon's solo stuff. The Small Faces, really good band. I really like the Small Faces. Elton John, kind of the same problem with John Lennon. Not the best albums, but some really good albums though. Going in at S tier, the Beach Boys. I really want them to be one of my all-time favorites, but Scott Scott said it perfectly. They made some of the best music, but then they made some of the worst music. So there's that. Derek and the Dominoes, I said. Buffalo Springfield, Simon Garfunkel, CCR. Already said what I said. Paul McCartney. Uh, Yeah, I have a lot of problems with Paul McCartney as a Beatle, but as a solo artist, he is amazing. He goes for a lot of he's very he's out there. Let's just say that. He's a lot more out there when he was a Beatle, and I feel like he was a lot more creative as a solo artist than as a Beatle, in my opinion. Not to take it away from McCartney. I think McCartney's a great artist on its own, but I mean, I think he's really good with it as a Beatle, but as a solo Beatle, oh man, he is amazing. Bee Gees, I love their early work and I love their later work. Um, I'm not going to say they're one of those people who sells out. They're great. Fleetwood Mac, they made some of the best music ever. I love the Welch era. I love the Lindsey Buckingham Nicks era. Why they're not an SS tier is because of the first two album. Well, Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Wonderful is a big one. Mr. Wonderful. Um, Mr. Wonderful. Then there's Killing House. Um, then the last three albums. Those five albums are bad enough to keep them away from the SS tier. Um, John Denver is amazing. I love John Denver. I gotta listen to the rest of his discography before making any full decisions. But yeah, I really like John Denver. He's really good. George Harrison, he's easily the best solo Beatle. He was definitely the Beatle that really held them, like really carried the Beatles when at the end of their at the end of their existence as the Beatles, and I'd say yeah, that's and all things was passing alone makes them S tier worthy. Uh, I'd say yeah, I I forgot who asked me this, but someone asked me it was either Scott or Jacob that asked me this, that like, oh, do you like do you like the solo Beatles better than the actual Beatles? And I'm actually gonna say yes. I actually like the solo Beatles better than the Beatles. I think because they work better as separate entities than as a complete unit, in my opinion. Yeah, that's just my opinion on that. Um, moving on. Stevie Wonder quote, moving on to the SS tier. It's just like some of my favorite artists of all time. Just like artists I absolutely love. Um, Stevie Wonder is a great artist. Um, some of the best music ever made. Johnny Cash, really good. Really like Johnny Cash. Love his music. Rush, I already gave my opinions on them. Really love ABBA. ABBA's such a great artist. I love ABBA so much. The Hollies, very underrated. The Hollies is probably the most underrated artist on this list in terms of albums. I think they're the most underrated albums artist. Really, Genesis. I love Genesis. Supper's Ready with Foxtrot. Lay My Sound on Broadway. Selling England by the Pound. Some of the best music ever. Uh, I love everything after. I love a lot of things after that. I love Duke. I love Abacab. I love Invisible Touch. Just great music. Really good music. Next up, Bob Dylan. Love Bob Dylan. He made 40 albums. I listened to all 40 of them. Uh, even though he made some of the worst music ever, made to me arguably the worst album ever made, Pop Dylan Christmas album. I still think he's a great artist. I still think he's up there. Uh, Led Zeppelin. Love Led Zeppelin. Such a great artist. Led Zeppelin one's really good. Love two a lot. Pardon me. Led Zeppelin 3 is awesome. I love Led Zeppelin 3. Led Zeppelin 4. Uh, Oh, Jason. So basically, basically, I'm like ranking all like 50 artists that I know and love, and I'm basically doing a tier list of them. This isn't albums. This is just like artist, and I could have went with the band pictures, but I was a little lazy. I just went with album covers. So I'm basically just discussing my like my tier ranking of all the artists I know and all that. So right now I'm talking about Led Zeppelin and why Led Zeppelin's an SS tier band. Not like yeah. The Mamas and the Papas. They're another amazing band. I love the Mamas and the Papas. They're a fantastic group. Okay, guys, I was confused. Yeah. I don't blame you. Yeah, since I know you, I saw that you joined right now. So at the very beginning of the video, yeah, I was saying that like basically I'm like ranking all the artists from this list. Um, so as you can see, Paul McCartney's pretty high on my list, S tier, and uh, yeah, this isn't an album's ranking. This is a band's artist ranking. So yeah, going back to us, I'm out. The Mamas and the Papas, they're a fantastic group. I love the Mamas and the Papas. They're one of my all-time favorites. Of course, we all know them from California Dreaming, Monday Monday. I think their debut album's really good. I think their follow-up album's a little better, which is why I have it on there. Love the Mamas and the Papas though. They're such a great band. Very underrated. Um, Rolling Stones Aftermath. Not Aftermath. The Rolling Stones in general. I love the Rolling Stones. They're a great band. Um, their first three albums are all right. Uh, when I say their first three albums, I'm talking about their first three UK albums. Their first three US albums are great, or like their second and third US album are great. But as far as their UK albums, like Rolling Stones 2, Out of Our Heads, those are good albums, but they're not like top tier albums. Once they get to their fourth album, Aftermath, that's when they get really good. They get some of my favorite music is on there. Between the Buttons, I love. I'm just gonna say it. I really love their Satanic Master's Use Request. That's an underrated album. I don't think that album deserves as much hate as it gets. I don't think it's them ripping off the Beatles one bit. I think it's an awesome album. To one of my favorites by them and one of my all-time favorite albums. Beggar's Banquet is an amazing album. I love Beggar's Banquet. It's another awesome album, and it starts there like this thing called what Stones fans calls their Big Four. Um, After Beggar's Banquet, of course, Let It Bleed. I think that's a great album. One of my favorites. Give Me Shelter, Love in Vain, Country Honks, funny. Live With Me is pretty good. Let It Bleed, the title track, I really like. I think the side two is really where it's at. Midnight Rambler, give me got the silver. Monkey Man's pretty funny, and can't always get what you want's an awesome song. Of course, there's Sticky Fingers, which I don't know if you're still on here, Briar, but gonna give out shout outs to him. It's his favorite album by them, and I really like Sticky Fingers. I think Sticky Fingers is an amazing record. Brown Sugar is awesome. Sway is the most underrated song on that album. Wild Horses is great. Can You Hear Me Knocking is such a fun song. Uh, you Gotta Move is not really the best song on the album, but I think it works for them. Of course, Bitch is a great song. I like You Got the I really like I Got the Blues. Pretty good song. Dead Flowers is super underrated. Sister Morphine is great. Moonlight Mile is I know that's Briar's favorite song and by them, and I could see why it's such an awesome song by them. And of course, the last The last album of their Big Four is XL on Main Street. That album is extremely underrated. I really enjoy XL on Main Street. Uh, I wouldn't call it underrated, but in terms of our channel, it's underrated because this is a very divisive album in our channel. It's either you really like it or you really dislike it. Me and Briar are on the we really like it side, and I really like Exile. And part of that I could thank Briar for. Briar, I really thank Briar for that because if it wasn't for him liking that, I probably would have never really gave it. I probably would have never given it the amount of tries I did. So hats off to Briar's music showcase. uh, really good. Goat's Head Soup is a really good album. I love It's Only Rock and Roll. That's an underrated album. Black and Blue, still another underrated album. Some Girls, probably their most popular album. Uh, Shout outs to Jason the Old Millennial, because me and him are the only ones so far who really like Emotional Rescue. I think Emotional Rescue is a fun album. I think it's a really catchy album. I think it's a I don't get why so many people dislike Emotional Rescue. I think it's a really fun album. But what do I know? I just I think it's fun. So sometimes all you just need is a fun album, and I think Emotional Rescue does a great job of making a fun album. Speaking of fun albums, Tattoo You is awesome. I love Tattoo You. It's a great album. Start Me Up, Waiting for a Friend, great songs. Hang Fire, Little TNA, love those songs. Uh, I'm probably just gonna stop talking about those now. I want to go more in depth on those albums when me Jason not me, me Jason me Jacob and Scott go through them. So just gonna leave it at that for now. Of course, The Kinks is one of my all time favorites. I just gotta do a plug of my channel right now. Me and Jason, the Old Millennial, right now we're going through all the Kinks albums. Uh, very exciting right now. Uh, yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about those albums because we just finished reviewing the Village Green Preservation Society album. I'm happy to say that Jason gave it a 9 out of 10. Very happy about that. I was afraid it was gonna be. I was afraid it was gonna be a lot lower than that, but sometimes I gotta stop being pessimistic. Really good albums though. Of course, Queen is one of my all-time favorites. That's probably my second favorite of all the 50 artists that he did here. Uh, I love Queen. Queen is such an amazing band. Um, what got me into them was just I forgot what really got me into them, but I'm so glad I found someone who on the channel that says Queen is their favorite band because they're one of my all time favorites, and I love Queen so much. Queen is such an underrated albums band. Of course, their singles get the recognition that they deserve. I'm gonna say that right now, but in terms of like album making, feels like people consider them more of a singles band, and I couldn't be any more upset when people say that because I think Queen made some of the best records ever, but that's just my opinion. But I know Briar's gonna agree with me on that. As long as as long as Queen is SS here, I'm happy. Well, they're at SS here, so you're gonna be really happy. So of course, now I'm gonna talk about my favorite band, The Who. Uh, they made some of my favorite music of all time. Uh, the Who Sell Out, my favorite album of all time. Quadrophenia is an epic album. Tommy's an epic album. Who's Next is epic. I love Who by Numbers. I love Who Are You. Um, yeah, I really like this. I really love the Who. If I'm gonna eventually do a series on them with some other people, so I'm gonna leave my really more in-depth thoughts on Who after. So yeah, um, yeah, that's really about it with my thoughts and feelings about this. But hope you guys enjoyed. Well, I know Jason and Barry are watching this. If anyone wants to talk to me on the end of stream, if anyone wants to join and talk to me at the end of the stream, just click on that link. And I know at 3 o'clock, me, Jason, and Jacob and Adam, we're going to be talking about The Lion King. So I have really nothing else to do after that. So before then, so talk before that begins. Uh, as to the people who are watching the replay, thank you so much for watching this video. This was an interesting video to make because I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, and I feel like it was long overdue because, you know, of course, if I send this to anyone else, their list is gonna be a lot more different than mine. Of course, most people will put the Beatles at S tier, and probably well, of course, most people will put the Beatles way higher, and probably the solo Beatles way lower. So, um, yeah, this was fun to make though, and hope you guys have a good one. See ya.